Welcome to our Amazon Market Insights webinar. We are running these webinars every month, and this month we are going to look into the categories barbecue and smokers. But before we start, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Ines Notch. I'm the principal consultant at Metoda, so I'm responsible for our consulting business here. I'm with Metoda since more than 7 years. Before that, I've been with Amazon here in Munich for 3 years. And at Metoda, I'm supporting our customers to take the right decisions based on data or related to e-commerce. As I said, we're running these webinars on a monthly basis, always looking into different categories. This time we are looking into barbecues and smokers, and we're looking into the markets UK, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. We always start with the retail development of Amazon based on their quarterly results. Then we have a brief look into the main category development in this category. It's like garden and outdoors. And then we really jump into like barbecues and smokers, look at the market size, at the market structures, and which brands lead the different markets in Europe. And today, because it's soon Christmas, we actually have a special offer for you. At the end of the presentation, you can sign up at a link. So you will receive the raw data, that's the base of all the analysis you see today. You would just get it for free. A colleague of mine will post the link to the landing page where you can sign up and receive the raw data. But now let's start with the Amazon sales development. So what do we see here on that slide? The data is based on the Amazon quarterly results, and it's just focusing on the online stores worldwide and what revenue Amazon is generating here. So it's excluding any 3P sales, it's just 1P sales from Amazon. And we are looking back to 2019, because that was the last year before COVID-19, that of course had a huge impact on the development of online sales. And what you can see here is when we look at like 2019 or 20, it's always we see like growing sales quarter over quarter. On the right-hand graph, you see the year-over-year development. What we see when we look at 2021 and 2020 is actually that this quarter-over-quarter growth and the very common year-over-year growth is actually interrupted. And this is last year and also beginning of this year due to COVID-19. So we've seen rocket sales into 20, where the COVID-19 pandemic was all over the world. People stayed at home. They changed to like buy all the stuff, even like the daily need stuff online, which gave like e-commerce a huge push. But that dropped mid of 2021 when like measurements were relaxed, people were more relaxed to go outside again and actually like shop offline again. So in 2021, we've only seen a 14% year-over-year growth, but that was mainly driven by the first quarter. And this year, we are like facing impact from COVID-19. So actually, when you look at Q1 and Q2, like Q1 was actually minus 1% year over year. That's something we see here. It's like the first time that we are looking at this data that we have seen a negative year over year growth. And the second quarter was like at 0% growth. So we are seeing here an impact from COVID-19 because like 2021 sales were much higher because people were shopping much more online than offline. But at the same time, what we also see is an impact from the worldwide economic crisis that we are currently facing. Currently, until the end of September, we still see a 4% year-over-year growth for Amazon online store sales worldwide. But this is mainly driven by the third quarter. Like the first half year was very, very low with no or pretty much negative sales development year-over-year. And the outlook from Amazon for now, the fourth quarter we are currently in, like Christmas season, the highest shopping time. And when we look at the Q4 sales here, it's always like the largest quarter in regards to revenue for Amazon. They were just announcing like 2 to 8% year-over-year growth, which is very low. So we will see next year in February how Q4 turned out, but the predictions from Amazon side are very conservative. But now let's look into the main category, garden. So how does this look like? The main category, garden, we see here in the split up in the different countries. So UK, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. And the left bar, which is like slightly shaded, are the orders from 2021, so like the sales, the units. And the right bar, the solid bar, is the sales of the first half year, 2022. What is pretty clear when you compare the countries is that Germany and UK are by far the largest countries in the European market. And of course, we're just talking about like the EU5. We're not talking about like the newly open markets in Netherlands, Sweden, or Poland, or even Belgium. We're just focusing on the top 5 EU countries currently. And you see like UK and Germany are by far the largest countries. In 2021, UK was just like 1% below Germany in orders. But when we look at 2022, you see actually that UK shows a strong decline year over year, and Germany also a slight decline year over year. So like the two major markets show a decline in sales in the first half year this year. What we are seeing in UK and Germany is actually that the first half year in 2021 shows higher sales than the second half year, and that is pretty much because you know it if you're in that category, the seasonality. So garden has the highest season usually in spring, so that is no surprise that we see such a picture. But if we use that information to do a forecast for the complete year this year, we have to actually expect a lower sales in the main category garden this year compared to last year in these two big countries. As I said, the other ones are quite small. The only country that is showing a significant growth is actually Italy. And the growth here for the first half year is actually driven by a very, very low first half year last year in Italy in regards to sales. So that's the main category garden. Now let's have a look into the barbecue and smoker categories. So you see here the category tree of the best sellers on Amazon on the different countries. So what we always do here is that we map these different categories into the different countries to a common category tree to make it easier to compare. So we're looking at all these different categories. If we take them all together, that is what we see in regards to market size. So on the left-hand side, you see the orders, so the unit sales, and on the right-hand side, you see the revenue. What we see in barbecues and smokers is that Germany is by far the largest country. I always thought it's just a rumor that Germans are barbecuing so much, but if I look at the sales figures from Amazon, it seems to be true. So actually Germany is, in regards to orders and in regards to revenue, larger than the rest of the 5 countries. So larger than UK, France, Italy and Spain together. If we take them all together, we see like sales of about 864k in the first half year this year, and this generates a revenue of roughly 100 million euro. Of course, you need to take into account the revenue is always like gross revenue, because we are using the price of the products we are analyzing here that's stated on the Amazon website. So it's gross revenue, including taxes in the different countries. But as you see, like 100 million euro revenue is quite something, but most of it is generated in Germany. No surprise that like the number of products sold in the first half year we see, and also like the average price is highest in Germany. UK is the second one, and you see that France, the smallest country in regards to units and also in regards to revenue, also has the lowest average price. But let's have a look into which categories from all these different categories we are looking at is like the largest categories in the different countries. Let's see if we see a difference here. So the category is called barbecues and smokers. If we just first look at smokers, you see it's just having like a small share of this complete category, at least in regards to revenue. Of course, they have like, yeah, quite a low average price if we compare to the barbecues we're looking at, but it's really like smokers is not as big, by far not, as barbecues are on Amazon. And you see, like, for instance, built-in barbecues is very, very small. The main categories in the barbecue category are actually charcoal barbecues and gas barbecues. It's also so like that charcoal barbecues are actually the type of barbecue that sells across all these 5 countries the most. So they actually make the volumes. And also in regards to revenue, charcoal is the largest category in UK, France, and Spain, while in Germany and Italy, gas barbecues generate the highest revenue. And if you compare the average prices of charcoal and gas, you see that in all countries, the gas barbecues are at least twice the price in average than the charcoal barbecues. And that's why in Germany and Italy, these category generates higher revenue than actually the charcoal barbecues that are sold more often. And talking about price, let's have a look at how the sales split up over the different price ranges. We've set the price ranges to 50 euro. So the first price range is all revenue generated with products below 50 euro. The second price range is the revenue generated with products between 50 and 100 euro, and so on and so forth. And you actually see even above 700 euro, there is quite some revenue generated, except for Spain. But what we see across all the countries is that between, or like let's say up to 300 euro, the revenue is pretty flat and pretty broad spread across all these different price ranges, except for 1 or 2 peaks. Like we see in France, like one fourth of the revenue is generated in the price range 50 to 100 euro. And in Spain, it's in the price range 100 to 150 euro. But for the other countries, it's more spread along a broad price range. and Germany and Italy. And you remember Germany and Italy had the largest revenue for gas barbecues that are more expensive. They actually have smaller peaks here in the price range 200 to 300 euro, which is also not surprisingly because like the charcoal barbecues, they actually dominate the price range below 200 euro, while the gas barbecues, they dominate the price range above 200 euro. So gas barbecues are simply like sold at a higher price. I think what's also interesting, if you, for instance, here look at Germany, that like to reach 80+% of the revenue, you actually need to look at all products sold in the price range up to 600 euro. While for Spain, it's up to a price range of 300 euro. So Germany sells like more high price items here, and of course sells more than all the other countries together. But even if we see that like Germany is selling in a very broad price range and the other countries too, we see from a structural point of view that like more than 50%, nearly 60% of the products are actually sold at an average price below 100 euro. So that means when we look at the revenue split, that these 50 to 60% of the products are actually fighting for like roughly more than 20% of the revenue, while the rest of the revenue, like the 80% of the revenue, is actually split up over just 40% of the products. So the higher the average price of the product is, the less products are actually bought by consumers. So, and we see the same when we look at brands. So actually here you see that like 70% of the brands sell at an average price below 100 euro. So like 30% of the brands actually generate 60 to 80%, depending on the country, of the revenue. So consumers, especially also in Germany, that are willing to buy like a high price barbecue, they are focusing on a small number of products and brands. So if you are active in that market and want to sell like premium products in that market, you really also have to invest in your brand building. But talking about brands, let's have a brief look into the market structure for brands. So what we can see here is you see the total number of brands at the top of the graph, and you see at the x-axis, you see like 1 brand, 5 brands, 10 brands, and the cumulated revenue share here. What we see when we look at the number of the brands is pretty clearly and pretty simple that Germany shows the highest number of brands. We found here that were sold within the top 100 products every day in the first half year this year. So that's not surprise. It's not a surprise because like Germany also has the highest sales and the highest revenue. And we see that France and Spain, which are the smallest countries for barbecues, actually also show the smallest number of brands and also products sold in the first half year. But what is interesting is that in Germany, where we have a huge market and a huge number of brands, actually the top leading brand in barbecues and smokers only owns 9% of the revenue-based market share, which is quite small. If you, for instance, compare it to Italy, where the top leading brand in barbecues and smokers owns 20% of the market. So what you can see here is that the market have a different structure or are differently consolidated. So like while the German market is pretty fragmented with like the leading brand owning just 9% of the market, like here Italy and France are a little bit more consolidated. It's still not that they're really consolidated with like 20% market share of the leading brand. We've seen other markets where this number is much higher, but still like the top 5 brands own more than half of the market. And you see that this is like for Spain and Italy continuing here. So Spain and Italy are more and more consolidated. Germany, we need already like 10 different brands to get like to reach like 50% of the revenue. And like Italy is somewhere in between here. So you see that like the largest market has the highest competition. So there's not like one major brand dominating that market, while in the smaller markets, it's that like the successful brands own a higher share of the market. And now let's have a look into which brands are actually dominating the different markets. And if we look at Germany with like the leading brand owning 9% of the market, we are actually seeing that this is Weber. I think most of you know that brand if you are in that category, or maybe even if you're not like doing business in that category, maybe you have a Weber barbecue at home. At least in Germany, a lot of people do that. But we also see not only in Germany, Weber is a very well-known and like successful brand. Weber is actually showing up in all the different countries as like a leading brand, at least in the top 3, or even the leading brand in that country. And for Weber, it's really like their success is mainly driven by charcoal barbecues. And we know they are selling most in all countries. So the units are the highest for charcoal barbecues in all countries. And in all countries except Germany and Italy, also the revenue is the highest for charcoal barbecues. While in Germany, the revenue for gas barbecues was higher than for charcoal barbecues. And like we also see here like Charbroil, which is another very well-known brand that is actually in the top 3 in 3 out of the 5 countries. And Charbroil is the success of Charbroil as a brand is mainly based on gas barbecues. So it is a little bit surprising that Charbroil is not showing up in Germany, because like in Germany, you might remember, the highest revenue was actually in the gas barbecue category. And this is simply because in Germany, the gas barbecue market looks slightly different. So let's have a look into the details here. I know that might be a little bit small. It's even a little bit small for me, but you're getting the presentation afterwards, so you can look the top brands in the different categories up later on too. So what you see here, we are here in the charcoal and in the gas category. We've split up the different categories and show you the top 2 brands. In charcoal, you see like it's Weber. Weber is the leading brand in all countries except in Spain. In Spain, it's actually Tepro who's generating more revenue in that category. And in gas, you see it's Charbroil in the top 2. In UK and France, Charbroil is the leading brand in gas. And in Italy and Spain, it's on the 2nd place behind camping gas. But in Germany, it's not showing up at all in the top 2 positions. It's actually Enders and Bernhard that are showing up here. I think Ennis is well known. I'm not sure if all of you know Bernhard. It's actually the barbecue brand of Spring Lane that is very successful in Germany here, but not as successful in other countries, unfortunately, as you can see here. But you see that Germany looks slightly different from the top brands here than all the other countries. What you can also see is that for both of these categories that are like the main sales and revenue drivers across all countries, the top leading brands do not dominate like their category. They have a market share of 20-30%, and actually, like, the larger the market, the lower is the market share of the top brands individually. But when we, for instance, look at more niche categories, like for instance built-in, you remember it has like a very, very small revenue share only across all these categories on Amazon, maybe because it's not what you would buy on Amazon, or because it's really like not so many people build have used like a built-in barbecue. As soon as you live in an apartment and not in your own house, it's impossible to use a built-in barbecue. So it might also reflect the usage, not only the sites on Amazon. But if we talk about such a niche category, you see that the market leaders actually have like very high market shares within that category. It's also like for wood pallet or for portable or like for wood burning. So you see in these niche categories, there's like one brand owning a large portion of that market. But of course, it's a small market, so it's not really worthwhile that hundreds of brands go in there and invest in that. While charcoal and gas are the two largest categories. So we see a lot of competition in these categories, but it's also worth going into that category, especially if you are in Germany. So are there any questions? I see a couple of questions here, but they are more related to general things with the transmission and presentation and so on. Do you have any specific question regarding the content I presented to you? Are there no questions? No. Oh yeah, there is one question. So let's look at the question. But see, do the numbers just refer to Amazon or to the total market? All the numbers we present here are just sales and revenue generated on the different Amazon marketplaces. So on Amazon Germany, Amazon UK, Amazon France, Amazon Italy, and Amazon Spain. The data is actually based on an algorithm that we developed in-house already a couple of years ago, which enables us to measure for like each individual product on Amazon how often it sells per day. And in this case, for these webinars, we always look at the top 100 products per category, which means like they change, I think, every 8 hours on Amazon. So we're looking at the top 100 per day and cumulate that up in all the different subcategories I showed you. So they're just focusing on Amazon. There is another question coming up. Do you have this market insights for other markets, for example, do it yourself? Yes, of course. We can not cover 100% of the Amazon categories, but nearly, let's say, at least 80-90% of the categories, like do-it-yourself, kitchen, drugstore, garden. These are all common categories that we are covering. So there's another question, could we get it also? I'm not entirely sure what you mean with could we get it also, but please feel free to get in touch with us after this webinar. You will shortly see a email address. You can get in touch with me directly, or you just wait until you get the presentation and answer to that email. So there's another question, when will the full year data be available? So of course, full year data is always available earliest in January. So in January, we can look at the complete year. Usually we can always get the data until, pretty much the day before yesterday. But we are running the webinars always just on a half a year of data. But for 2022, the full data would be available from the first week in January. Are there further questions? So there's another question, and is that something we can have access to? I can also just tell you, please get in touch with us directly, and then we can sort that out. Further questions? No? Okay. Then, as I said, you're going to get access to the raw data, and of course, I think my colleague already posted that, you will receive the presentation after the webinar. You can also have access to the presentation and to like the recording afterwards. But if you are interested in the raw data for that webinar, just click on the link my colleague is posting and sign up for it, and you will get it sent through. But let's just briefly sum it up. As we have seen, Amazon Retail was currently growing just 4% year over year, and the outlook for Q4 is quite low compared to further years. So we are very keen to see how the Q4 really went out. I'm not sure how it is going currently for you, for your categories, for your for your brands, but we see signs, but I think we do not have to expect like that we are overall in that category will see higher sales this year than last year. And that is what we see in the garden category too. We are seeing in the largest markets, Germany and UK, that they are actually declining year over year, while Italy was growing strongly just because they had like very, very small sales last year. If we look at barbecue and smokers, we are seeing that they were generating in the main season 100 million euro revenue across all these 5 countries, but Germany is by far the largest country. So if you're in that category, or if you want to enter that category, you definitely should emphasize Germany, focus your investments in Germany first, and then followed by UK and the other countries. And the largest categories here across all the countries is charcoal barbecue. So they sell most in these EU5 countries, but due to a much higher price for gas barbecues, it's actually that in Germany and Italy, gas barbecues generate a higher revenue. And as I already said too, like charcoal barbecues are more products up to 200 euro, while the gas barbecues dominate the price range above 200 euro. And what we see in the overall category, barbecue and smokers, is really that the leading brands here are the leading brands that either are strong in charcoal or gas, as we've seen like Weber and Charbroil as the 2 top brands, followed by some others. And like in Germany, gas looks a little bit different than in the other countries. And I think what's also interesting is that actually only 4% of the brands that we looked at really make it into the top 100 products of Amazon in that first half year in all of these 5 countries. So nearly 70% of the brands are only successful in one country. So if you're already in that market and you cover up Germany quite well, because we have the largest market here, then you should really emphasize in expanding your success to other countries, to make sure that you're like, stable with market shares in all these different countries. Because Amazon, even if we see now like a very low year-over-year growth, we all know that e-commerce will continue to grow, and also Amazon will continue to grow. So investing also in the international markets definitely makes sense in the long run. As I already said, if you want to get in touch with us, just feel free. But if you like that webinar and might be interested in other categories, we are running the next webinar in February. We are not running one in January because, we want to take some days off for Christmas too. In February, it's actually a do-it-yourself category or kitchen, depends on how you look at it. It's heating, cooling, and air quality. That's especially like heating is pretty interesting currently with the situation we are facing. If you want to browse our webinars that we've run up till now, you can just check them out. You can access all the presentations and all the recordings on our website or on YouTube. And if you want to get in touch with us directly, please feel free to send me an email via consulting@metoda.com. So then, thank you very much for your time and your questions. I wish you a nice day and especially a peaceful and enjoyable Christmas season. Take care.